Hi everyone, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for coming along. Please do subscribe, like, comment as you go along. That'd be much appreciated. We're going to have a go at painting a landscape today. Well, it's a mixture of a landscape and a seascape. It's sort of a local town called Fowey. Well, I would say more like a seaside town, village. And we're going to have a go at that. And I will be making art kits of it also. So let's just get started. All the paints you get in the kit are the same as what I use. All the brushes you get in the kit are the same as what I use. We've got flat brushes, two different sizes, a small and a large. We have got two rounds, a small and a large. We've got a detail brush, and there's also an angled brush as well. It's very helpful to have some paper towels and a rag down, have 2 jars of water, one for cleaning most of the paint off, and then another one for rinsing. All the paints we have are the same. We can mix most colours that we need from these 8, and I sometimes use the burnt sienna and the mid green. We've got lemon yellow, medium yellow, scarlet red, can't think of the word, magenta red, ultramarine blue, cyan blue, black and white, and that's it. That's all we'll be using. So let's get started. The general outlay of this, you don't actually need a drawing. Most of my kits will have a drawing on if it's something detailed, but although this will have some detail, it's going to be quite abstract and very, very basic and simple, so it's really, really good for beginners. Okay, let's get started. We're going to kind of mark in where the sky will meet the sea, and then we're going to mark in, there's going to be some greenery here with some sea pinks flowers over there and in the background. So what I want you to do is to take your flat brush first, because that's what we're going to use first. Now you can mix with this brush perfectly fine, so don't worry about that, but what I'm going to use is my paint palette, because I actually really like to use a paint palette knife. I would say invest in one if you can. They don't come with the kits. It's very difficult to get hold of them individually. They usually come in sets, so I haven't been able to get them so that I can include one in the kit, but you can quite easily use your brush, okay? So I want to mix a blue, a couple of blues really. So here we've got like a nice sky blue. I think maybe a bit more pink. It's a bit too dark there, but we can work the white in as we become lower in the sky. Okay, so we kind of need the darker blue a little bit, coming into the mid blue, and then we get some white as we go along. So that will be for the sky. Now for the sea, we're going to go for the cyan, because it has a slight green tint to it, and it gives us a more of a sort of sea aqua colour. So I'm going to add some white to that. I absolutely love it. We don't really need to do too much to it. It just gives us that lovely kind of sea blue. Okay. And then we can come in and gradually get darker as we get nearer to the horizon. Okay, right. Not going to worry about the greens so much. We're just going to go straight in with the blues. We're going to start at the top, quite dark towards the top. Okay, we're just getting the base colour down, and we're just trying to make sure that we get some colour on the canvas and fill in the teeth of the canvas. By that I mean the kind of the edge of the canvas, the feel of it. It's got teeth in there, and what we want to do is kind of just fill it to start with. So the darker blue towards the top, and I'm just adding some of that darker blue. Kind of want it to be a bit darker towards the very top. Nice blue sky, and then we want to come down and kind of lighten it up as we come down. Get some water on your brush if the paint's not flowing. That's all that is. You want to have that paint flowing, and the more water you kind of have added to it, the more it's likely to spread through. Okay, So I can feel when my brush is too dry or hasn't got enough paint on it. So again, I want to make more of that mid blue just for this section, because most of it is that mid blue colour on this one. We're just filling in the teeth. If you can see any white marks, just go over them, okay? Just keep going until you filled it with paint. Just trying to get more of the mid blue colour. We can come in again in a second and blend in the other colours that we might want to see in the sky, okay? The darker ranges. So here I am going to start pulling in a little bit of the darker blue, okay? Just want to get it a bit darker. Now it's too wet still, so let's just keep going with that coat, that first coat of blue. So although I did mix my first lot with a palette knife, as you can see, I'm still mixing as I go along. Oh, that's the wrong one. That's the cyan blue. We don't want that. So get some more white. And yeah, so I hadn't mixed enough with my palette knife. I was being a bit too cautious, just because I was showing you really how to mix a colour more than anything. All right, so we want to be rule of thirds. We kind of want the sky to be the top third, then the sea is going to be the bottom thirds, and then we're going to have a little bit of the grassy area in the background and a bit of grassy area in the foreground. So I'm not really going to bother washing my brush, changing the colour of my brush, because what we'll do at this point is we'll try and blend in some of that darker blue up into that lighter blue. Okay, we'll just kind of have that mixing on the canvas, which is really lovely to do. It's a nice effect. And then we'll start adding in the lighter blue as we come down. We want lots more white than that, because we can actually add white straight onto the canvas as well. Did you see me just do that? If we want a lot more, that's absolutely fine. I need more water on my brush. So as I've said before, if you can feel it sticking, you know you need way more water. Now I'm coming in with some really nice pale blue now. Really want to make it pale. It doesn't need to be too pale, but just a bit lighter, because we're coming into more of the foreground. Sorry, sometimes I start talking, but then when I'm painting I kind of lose the plot a little bit. Go off on a tangent, or forget in my brain that I'm actually here trying to teach you, and it would be a good job to speak. So once you've got that, oops, didn't mean to put that there, but actually doesn't matter if you get a few streaks. It's nice because it's just all part and parcel of the variations of colour. So put some in if you want. Come in and get some strokes in of that darker colour coming across, and then blend it through so it's not too obvious that it's like that line there. And then you should have quite a few sort of variations in colour, and then you can come in with a white as well and do the same and make a really light bit. Okay, just gently, yeah, come in and lighten up some of those areas just a little bit, not too much. I think that's pretty dry, so So now we need to come in with our second layer of the sky. I think the sea is looking pretty good, and we're going to go over this corner anyway with some foliage and some pink sea pink flowers. So let's go for a slightly darker feel to the very, very top. Okay, only slightly. I just want to kind of, when you look at photos, they're always much, much darker right at the very top. So now that we've already done one layer and we've filled in all of the tooth with that first layer, we can now come in and, oops, didn't mean to do that. That was way too white. I think my brush was a bit too wet, too dry. So, yeah. We can now come in and just kind of finalize how we want it to be. So I want it darker at the top, but I don't want there to just be this line. So we've got to go back and still blend it in a bit. Okay, so we're just making sure that the colour down there kind of does come up and meet the top as well. Okay, and that white there that I put down is great because it's just kind of suggesting clouds really, and that's what we want. So I'm going to come in with some lighter again and just have lots of variations of that mix. I meant to get white. Yeah, if you can still see some patches where the canvas isn't quite filled in, then yeah, just pop another layer on. And we'll get there eventually. Trying to match the same colour up can be difficult, but do you know what? It just gives you the opportunity to kind of have these variations anyway, which is really nice. Oh, I think I just put that in cyan again. Got to be careful. So we'll come up now. I think we're kind of getting there with the sky. We can go all the way across to really blend it right in. I think I really like that second coat more than the first, so I'm glad we did come in and do that. But always be using your brush kind of to the side like that, and just brushing it lightly over your other coat and over your other colours, because that will just really get it blended in nicely. Okay, and then as you go across you can see that blending. Right, missed a bit here. It's not very filled in by that blue. And here again, while there's some dark blue, come along and just kind of, now the background is a bit more dry, we can come on and put those dark layers on, slightly darker little movements on. Might go quite dark here, and it just gives the impression of movement in the sea and depth, but in a really simple way. Okay, again quite a bit more darker towards the back, so we can come in, oh that was whiter, we can come in and make sure we've got those dark colours going on at the back, blend them in. That's nice, and then kind of bring them down a little bit as well in that kind of straight lined crisscross fashion. And again, it just adds a little bit of information to tell us there's water flowing here. Okay, so we'll stop there. I just want to come in slightly with this colour lighter here, because I haven't quite filled in the tooth there very well of this canvas. So I am going to come in with some lighter bits, which actually do show kind of a little bit of sparkle, like the sea is shining. That's the joy of acrylics. You can keep going over it until you are really, really happy with it. Don't, you know, dry it off, go again. It really doesn't matter how many times you go over it. Just make sure you're happy with what you have done. And this is the really white bit for the bottom. Although there isn't much there, we do want to still make sure it's filled in. I can see some bits there where it's just open canvas. But I've just missed at the bottom, which is fine, because that's going to be painted over with anyway. So I think we're done. I think we've mostly got the canvas covered there. Don't worry too much about the join here. We're going to have some green there now. Okay. So I think we're going to go with the angle brush to do our greens. So to get a nice natural green, what we need to do is get some ultramarine blue. I'll get quite a bit of that because it will be our beginning green colour that we'll get all the other ones from. And then we'll use our mid yellow. And let's see if we can make a nice green from that. There we go. So this up here will be a very dark green. And then what we'll do is once we've mixed that darker green, we'll then start to make lighter versions. And maybe some more yellow versions. So we've got quite a lot there, which is good. Hopefully that will be enough. So then I'm going to kind of take some of that to this side here. And I'm going to add some more yellow. Because then when we add white to it in a bit, it creates like a really nice lighter yellow. Need some more yellow. Because I want a kind of a yellowy green for the tops of the foliage in the background. There we go, we're getting there. So using the yellow is a natural way to help lighten that green and still make it look nice and realistic. So we can keep doing that until we feel completely ready with our 3. Now what we always try to do, what I always try to do, is make sure we kind of got 3 variations of any colour. Dark, a medium and a light. Okay, simple as that. 3 variations and that would be enough to get you going. All right, so there we have it. We've got kind of a nice dark green, a bit of a medium green, and now a lighter green, more of a yellowy green, which I do like for the tops. Okay, now we've got to use the angle brush because we're kind of going to come across this way. I think what we'll do is we'll start with our darker green. So we're starting a third the way up, and we're just going to mark in where the green is. Now it's kind of, it comes slightly up and in, like it's a bit of a cove, which is where Fowey is, and then it kind of comes back down again, but only very slightly. Okay, and then we've kind of got the trees and the bushes and things here, and I'm really roughly just marking in where they come. So here where we've got the cove, kind of comes down a bit because there's lots of buildings here. Then it comes up a bit, and then we've almost got a bit of a straight line kind of coming up, and then it goes off. It's almost like there's some fields up here. So we're just now going to fill in that with our angled brush and just put some really nice big dark strokes up there. We're just filling in the canvas. We're going in the general direction of the background, and actually our brush strokes give us a really nice feel. If we just like I'm doing, just really rough, big and little strokes, just to fill that canvas in. But it already starts to give us a bit of texture and a bit of realism of what's going on over there. It starts to look like there's some land, and that's what we want. And we really want to put down our darkest layer first, because then we can build up to our highlights. So I'm kind of using the edge of my brush and coming down from the top, because that's how really our brains imagine land to be. We're kind of coming up, coming down from the top like that, and tends to be kind of at that angle as well. So it's the angled brush and just coming, and you could do it with your flat brush actually, but I quite like the angled brush for this. And here it doesn't matter too much. We're mostly going to have buildings over there, but they will be just very loosely done. There we go. Okay, so we have a bit of a background going on there. So I'm going to now just dry that bit. Okay, so now I am going to start adding some of that mid-green. Again, we are going to be going over some of this with some rough details of some of the buildings, but they won't be obvious. Now I'm just making marks, that's all I'm doing. I'm just giving a general impression of variation in the lights and the darks, and that's it. We don't need to be super detailed. Okay, we're just putting in some marks of variation. It also doesn't really matter where you put them. I would say stick to the middle part, because at the bottom it's going to be darker. We'll come back in a minute, and the top will be the much lighter yellow. So yeah, just make sure you're making marks at different angles, and that brush that way, sometimes a little thin bit, and this just gives us a feel of variation in the foliage at the back, the fields at the back, and the trees. It doesn't need to be super detailed. And we want to leave some of the dark at the back as well, because we don't want it to all be, when we come in and do that lighter colour, we don't really want to be coming in and making it super light. We need to keep those darks in so that it really does show that there are dark bits there. Now I am going to come in with the dark again, right at the bottom here. I need to wash my brush off and do it. It's not dark enough. I'm going to mix a tiny dot, and I mean a tiny dot, of black in with that, because black is a very overpowering colour. Okay, so I've got a really nice dark green there. I think I want it a bit darker even, because that just shows here, that's where the shadow is underneath, where the trees are kind of, and the bushes are leaning over, and you want to be just dabbing. Just be dabbing is all I can say, because if you try and go in a straight line or anything like that, it won't look right. Okay, so just dab away like that. Okay. I will also use that to come in here where there's a field up here, and it's kind of separated off by some darker trees, a darker area, some darker bushes. So we need that to be marked off. Then we're going to give it a dry. We are going to come in with a little bit of that lighter yellow And I'm just literally slightly brushing over the top of that field. I'm also going to come in with some lighter ones here, but I'm going to use the dot end and kind of just dot it round. I don't really want the big swathes of it. Just dot it around. So it's a bit like, so there was a bit of light here, and that's it really. Oops. Just make sure that's pushed in properly. It can be a bit transparent, that yellow, so, but as you can see, it just kind of gives a nice little feeling of light. There's a lot of water on that brush then. Yeah, so we'll do a little bit more up here, but not too much. Doesn't really need it. I will come in with a bit more over here because that is the lightest area. So let's just pop some more over there. Just squiggle it on. It's fine. And it kind of, it does the explaining for itself that it's lighter over there. Right. So the next thing we're going to do is create a little bit of grey. So we just need a little bit of black and a lot of white, because again, remember, black is very overpowering. Now I don't just want it to be grey, I kind of want it to be greeny grey, if that makes sense. So a very natural colour, but more on the grey side than the bright green that we had. And then we're going to come in and kind of just create some lighter squiggles here of trees and bushes. There we go. That's great. Just squiggle it in. Don't worry too much. I think we need to darken it a little bit. It's a bit too light. There we go. It's still quite light, but it's okay. And we're just dotting it in and scribbling it in as though it's bushes over here, okay? And the trees, and you might want to put more in one area and not so much in the other, and it really doesn't matter. It's just fun little marks, and it gives the impression of just lighter areas. But it's a more nice neutral tone. We don't really want that bright yellow over there. Again, over here, just scribble it in a little bit here. We're going to be doing buildings over there in a minute anyway, so we don't need too much over there. And I think this just needs scrubbing a bit. So when I'm doing that, it's called scumbling, and we're just kind of scrubbing it into the background. Okay, so that really helps to, again, show where there are lighter and darker areas of that foliage. Let's bring it, oh, wet brush. Let's bring it all the way out here. A bit wet there, so that's okay. We can cope with that. Okay, good. So now we're going to do the foreground, and we're going to worry about the buildings and boats and things at the very end. I just want to get the greens done. Now the greens is very much, there's very little dark green. It's mostly medium green and the light green. So I'm just going to go for it with that medium green. And this is going to be our foreground area where we are going to have fun painting foliage. Well, I hope you are anyway. So again, I'm still using my line brush. I do love the line brush because you can get right in and get some shape in. We're not going to obviously keep that straight line. There are going to be other marks there, but for now, we're just marking in the base layer. It can be a bit darker in areas. We can pick up some of that dark, it's fine. And then kind of mix it in like that. So kind of just wiggling it in. Doesn't want to, like with the top, we don't want it to be too uniform or anything. So just make sure there's no perfect little edge there. We just needed that so we had an idea of where we wanted to be. So come up and make these little squiggly marks. We're going to be doing more of that anyway in a minute. And then just fill in. We really want to fill in this part. go. I might put bits dark down here. I'm grabbing some more of the darker because there are a few bits that are a bit darker over here. So we'll just dab that in. I'm literally, again, like before, just making sure I've filled all the teeth of the canvas with our green paint. We may run out, we may have to just mix a bit more, but that's fine, that happens. And I'm leaving some of the texture there that I'm leaving behind because that really adds to it. Okay, I'm just varying the lighter green there with that darker green. I mean the mid green with the darker green. I'm just adding some more of the yellow green that we had to lighten it up again, because we've run out of the lighter green, the mid green that we had. That's okay. Right, I think we're okay there. I'm just going to get that paint off my brush. We may as well use it again. Keep that texture on there, it's fine. And do some smudging. We just don't want that background there. We don't want to see that line that we had at the beginning. I think that's pretty much gone. Okay. So we want this brush still. We still want to be using this brush, but I'm going to be mixing up some more of this green. So let's get some more of the ultramarine and yellow to get us this nice dark green that we had. That's nice. So what we need to do is now to come in and start making grass marks. So we want to be coming sort of like this. Using the angle brush, you come from where you want to go and make sure it's wet enough and make sure you've got enough. You want it on the edge of your brush, okay? And we're just literally coming in and doing some of these kind of grassy shapes. And that's it. Just make sure that they're coming at all directions and crossing over different heights and things. And coming over this way is good as well. If I'm not talking very much, it's just because I'm thinking. So forgive me if I go quiet. Right, so now we want to come up and we want to get some big stalks in, which is where the sea breeze is going to be coming from. Okay, so they need to be coming up, right up into that water. And they are all kind of coming around in this direction. Now be careful how hard you press down on the brush, because if you press too hard, it will then get a bit thick. There are a few in here which I think I'm gonna have to kind of, in order for you to see them, I think we're gonna have to use the lighter colour green a bit. Can you see? We can't go over dark grass with the darker colour. We need to now lighten that right up. So let's try that. Oh, I think the brush was too full. There wasn't enough water on it. It's a fine line between too much water and not enough. So we're going to come up and kind of try and create. Remember, you need, with this, you need the paint on the very, very end. Okay, and we just need to create some smaller ones here. And I know it's difficult to see. Hang on. There we go. You can see that one better, and that one. It's just trying to make sure I have got quite enough on there. And we'll just have a few dotted up here as well. And where these are coming from, I think it's really good now if we start to go over with a light colour as well with those, so you can kind of see that they are actually coming from down here. Okay, and then it leads up to it. It leads up to that stalk. Not to worry about it too much, because it will all make sense when we paint in the pink flowers. It will make lots and lots of sense. Alright, so now what I'm going to do, we're going to use the pointed brush. Okay, I'm going to use the pointed brush to kind of come in and just draw. We need some lighter yellow, even lighter than what we've got. Let's just really go for lightening that up. More green. We need it to be light, but much greener. That's a bit too light. There we go. A bit more white. Much better. So what I would suggest is just really enjoy practicing, mixing your different colours and making the different shades that you want. So, okay, yeah. So now I just want to come in and we're going over what we've already done. But with a different brush, just to give that lighter feel on top. I think I'm going to go for the smaller round actually, feeling as though that's coming out too big. We'll use our lovely small round here. Okay, and this will really give us some really nice wisps with the point. Oh, but you have to make sure the paint is on the point and that the point is pointy, otherwise it won't do it. Okay, just these tiny little wispy movements over what we have will kind of just help to lighten it up. Whoops, I need to get that. Remember, just the point, otherwise you will end up with kind of thicker marks than you really want. So go careful. Maybe I'll try even the smallest one here. That might be better. Yeah. So now what I'm going to do with that is just scribble some lines in. Not too worried about where they are, to be honest. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to scribble those lines in. Just to create the effect of lots of blades of grass, because this is just grass here, so that's why we're just going over it like that. Get some more white in there. Make sure your brush is wet enough. Keep whitening it up till you're happy. Add some more green if you need it, and then you'll get to the light green colour that you want. And everyone's different. You might want a different light green. Okay, so I am literally, this is all I'm going to do now is, oops, didn't mean to do that, but it's okay. Don't be afraid to use your finger, especially if you want to pick up paint that you didn't mean to put down as thickly as it went. So yeah, we'll carry on doing that for a bit longer. It doesn't matter if they are a bit thicker here and there either. As long as we've got the general feel that all this is grass, we're okay. As a beginner tutorial, that's all you need to think about. I'm just going to come down the side of the ones that are going to have flowers on, because they will have some light just there on them. Okay, just here. And even on some of these, they're blades of grass, they'll still have some kind of light on them. So I really want to go in and start lightening up now a bit more over the top here, because that is basically where all the light's going to be, isn't it? We want to make sure we've got some of that light colour evenly spread over everything. There we go, get some nice light stalks up there. I'm going to come back in with the dark green and also add a little bit of dark in terms of the grass blades, because we did the background grassy colours, but we didn't really do the grass kind of shape, so we need to make sure we're doing that as well with the dark. But this bit, you can just keep going and keep playing around with it until you're happy. Get lots of colours in there, darker colours. I'm literally going to come in with some black here, just because it's such a great colour to really darken some areas. And then we can just go over that with a green. If it's a bit strong, don't worry about it. Push it about, because it's nature and nature is messy. So don't worry about it. I love adding just a lot of artists don't like to use black, but I do. I absolutely love using black, and I think we shouldn't be afraid to use it. I may have gone a bit mad over there with it, so that's fine. I'll just come back over it with some lighter green and just kind of feather it out. Don't be afraid to use it. That's actually made a really nice kind of realistic greeny grey kind of colour, earthy. Okay, so when you step back, you can see what that's done, what effects that's had. It's broken it up a little bit, and then it's helped to make the lights look really light as well. Just bring some dark back in that we've lost and scribble it in. Just scribble it in. Just play with this foreground. Again, it doesn't need to be super detailed just because it's in the foreground. We're just playing around with making shapes and colours and marks, and that's part of what painting is. It's, you know, you want to have fun, you want to explore and try things out, so do it. Don't be afraid. The thing is, when you start out, you want to put every little mark in the right place, and no, that's the wrong way to start. You want to just play and have fun. We're not going for super realism as starters, as learners, as beginners. We're just going for something that looks like what it's meant to, and it's lots of fun to do, and we're enjoying it. And if we make a mistake, it doesn't matter, because here we're learning how to make marks. We're learning how much water to put on the brush. We're learning how to mix a colour. Until we've got all those things, you can't be worrying about all this super detail. It's not necessary. And to be honest, I prefer them if they're more arty and not too real. We can get real in the photographs. You don't need it in the painting as well. Right, okay, so I think that's looking real enough now. We've got the sense of movement in the grass and in the stalks. Now we have to come in basically with magenta here, and I am going to use my round. So we're coming in with magenta. I'm going to use my palette knife. You use your big brush to get out the magenta. We are going to use it as it is in places, but a lot of it is going to be mixed now with whites to give us a really nice magenta pink for our sea breezes. Okay. So most of it will be this nice light colour. And we'll come in with the lighter version as well, like really light version here. There we go, for the tops as well. Right, so we need our greens first. So first of all, there's kind of a cup shape on them, so we want to just be putting this kind of mixed green cup shape underneath. You've got to get that in first. It's one of my hairs. It's not difficult to get my hairs falling out over everywhere because I've got hair, very long hair. Right, there we go. And the light. We're going to get a few more down here, and we're going to start light with them, and kind of, we're just splodging them in really. That's all we're doing there, creating some sense of a bud. To make sure that we can't see the sea underneath. That's the main thing with these. So you can go darker or lighter, whatever you want to do. But there just needs to be a sense of a bud. We're going to go over that bud with some pink anyway. As I said, the point is that you enjoy it more than anything. Okay. So come in with anywhere you want to put them. We can have some little ones down here, which you might be difficult to see, but I can just add some pink in a minute. And we can detail them up as we go along. Now for the fun bit. We need to make magenta with a little bit of black because we need to have it darkened. And this is the bit that will stand out at the base of the magenta. So you want some magenta. Oops, I've done what I said not to do and added too much black. Well, it's all right, we'll get there, we'll get there. And we've kind of got this really dark purple, right? We need that. We need that dark purple colour. So, for every single one, you want this kind of purple at the bottom, okay? They pretty much all have some of that at the bottom of the bud and leading down to the stalk down here, okay? So we need to get that in on most of them. Well, actually all of them. And some of them, that dark goes all the way up to the top on that bud. So don't be afraid to use it because it's really important. For the way that the sea pinks have their shading. So get that right in. Okay, so we're going to have some other little ones down here. And I'm literally just going to mark them with this dark magenta colour because that will kind of shape the bottom of them. And we can have some here, like right at the very front. Why not? It's our painting, we can do what we want with it. Okay, and some of them will almost just be that, they'll just be buds. So we can dot some of those around, right, just as though there's buds there in that dark colour. Okay, now we can have the fun and come in and bring some of that joyous pink. So I'm going to come in first of all with the darker, and we're just going to lay it down. Now it's quite transparent on its own, all right, but the white will, when I come in with the lighter, the white is not as transparent, it's much more opaque. So we're just kind of doing some base marks to work in our lighter colour over the top. Okay, so we're just putting that colour in and just creating a sense of the top of a flower. That's all it is, we're just wriggling it in. Okay, and eventually we'll have some nice light pink there as well. There we go. See, at the front here where it's a lot thicker green, we just may have to go and do a few more layers like here as well. And here. We don't have to see them all really clearly, so it's fine. Okay, and we'll just dot some bits of pink around down the bottom here, as though there's just, maybe cluster some little dots, as though there's some here and there as well. I think we'll just come over these ones. These are like little buds. And we can always come in and draw some stalks on them later. Yeah, so just dot some around and have some fun with it. Maybe we'll have some over here. But the main emphasis is up here, of course. So we're going to go in and do our second layer of those colours. Because it's so transparent, we need to really come in with that second layer and make sure it's covering the blue behind it. Otherwise it won't look right. So just dab it in. Then we're going to dry it, because now we want to dab in the lighter colours. Now, yes, acrylic paint does dry quick, so you'll see your actual palette drying out, but that's fine because we don't need the colours. But what you can do is you can spray it. I've got like a hairspray bottle, and you can spray it with water if you want to keep it wet. I know lots of people do that, but I don't tend to do that. If it dries out, it's fine. It will wash off again when you try and clean it out. Right, so now I am again just doing some suggestions of this mid pink of like a flower, petal shapes. Don't be too specific about it. Try not to do too even petal structure, because it won't look right. Yeah, so wiggle it about a bit. Like here I've been too perfect because I was talking at the same time. It's inevitable. So we're going to do the same here and really wiggle some of that pink about. We're coming in again, don't forget, with the lighter pink afterwards, so it's all good. It's all good. And just kind of, yeah, just bring it in, kind of as though it's coming inwards like that towards the centre. Make some come out a bit as well. Still don't like this one. This one's just, that's better. It was far too neat and perfect. So then we'll come over some of these as well. Just wiggle that paint over them. Just gives a sense that there's something there. We don't need the detail. This is abstract and fun and a really good beginner painting to do. Okay, so just wiggling that in. Perfect. Right, so now we're going to come into the lighter pink down here. And we're just going to wiggle that light pink in here like that, and just create kind of anything you want. Flowers are random, aren't they? They're very random, but because we have the 3 shades of pink there, they just start to look like flowers. Imperfect, messy flowers. Keep coming in and picking up some of that lighter pink if you need more. It's quite a big one, that one, wasn't it? And just wriggle it round. We're just wriggling it round, trying to make it look like flowers. And hold your brush towards the end for the more loose marks. We want them to be loose. We're just giving a suggestion of flowers. There we are. Okay, so I'm going to make this come out a bit more. Just feel as though some of them are a bit too just close to the buds, whereas they do in real life spread out quite a bit. So I'm going to do that, make them look a bit more sea misty. That's better. Right, now I'm going to come in where there's some white and add in some white from that mix. Need to brush off. I think I'll go straight into the white, so I'm going to dry that. Okay, so now we're just going to go straight into the white, and we're really going to bring some of those tips alive. Don't have too much water on your brush. I had too much then, so all I was getting was a watery kind of mark rather than some really nice bright white marks, which is what we want. And again, don't be too perfect with them. Just dot them around where you feel like you want them, but just make sure they are beautiful and white, because it will really make your flowers pop and make your painting pop. And that's what we want. We want those different variations in darks and lights, because that is what brings it to life. That's why we started off very dark in the background and we've come lighter and lighter as we've come forward. Okay, and then these ones, they just kind of disappear into the background, don't they? I mean, we can give them kind of stalks. Let's go for the dark green over here, maybe mix with some of that dark purple. I think that would be good. And we can bring down kind of stalk shapes from that. Go straight in actually and do that. Kind of like that darkly purple we made. And if you want to, you can go back and add some more to the buds, bring some more down the the stems. It does make it look a bit more real if it's a bit more blended in. Again, we can add some more of that dark if we feel like we need to, just to show there's other stems here. I just feel as though there's no purple down here, so I'm just going to add that in with the green. It looks fine. Okay, and this one just kind of disappears. Hang on. Never brush my brush off white enough, and then kind of let it fizzle into the grass. Okay, so now we need to come back with our highlights with the yellowy green. Okay, it needs to be nice and light, and we also need to come and kind of make little white marks down the stems to show that there is some light on them as well. We don't want them to be completely dark with that dark purple colour, because it's not. Oops, might have put a bit much on there. It's okay, just rub it off, it's fine. Okay, and we might even just want to put a bit on the bud as well. Okay, just to give them a little bit of light as well. And then I just want to come in and create again some more marks of grass and things here. You know, we've put some flowers on, so it would be good to kind of show that they are in amongst the grass and they've got grass in front of them. So let's do that. Nice, there we go. We need a bit more over here as well, disappearing off the edge. Same here, let's kind of just blend some of that white over the back of that dark. But it makes the light just stand out so much better because we put that dark down in the first place. There is method in my madness, I promise you. Okay. Right, so that's fun. That's kind of all done now. We've done everything we need to do for that foreground bit. Hopefully you've had fun with that. Now in the background we do actually need a grey colour. So where we had grey before over there, we're just going to make a load more. Let's get loads of white. I think maybe let's get some more white, but we'll just make a little bit of light grey here, a really light grey. Right, so all we need to do here is little suggestions of buildings. Okay, so we're just going in with literally just some shapes, lines, and going vertically and horizontally. At the moment we've got that funny kind of dark grey colour that had a bit of green in it, and it's perfect. But we won't finish with that. We're going to come over it with the white, and here it's like much more built up coming into this bit over here. So we need lots of different marks, just lines and going up and down and straight across. It doesn't matter where you put them. Don't try to copy me, okay, because it won't work. You just need to go for it and put your own in. All right, and then we've got little buildings up here. This was more of a church, and then we've got other bits going on over here. So keep going with that darker colour, and then when we come here they kind of do fizzle out a bit. Okay, so there's not so many here. Right, so we're going to dry that now. So we're going to come in with the lighter grey and just go over the top in areas. Okay, so might actually use the the angled brush for this, because we want to make straight lines, and that was going to give us round marks, so we don't want that. Right, clean off your brush to get all the paint off, and then just pick up some paint so that we can make some straighter marks. I think it might be too big for some of those parallel marks, but we can bring them down. So just go along making these marks that suggest buildings, suggest humans in the landscape. Again, we're not being too detailed about it because it is mixed in amongst the trees anyway. Okay, let's dot that a little bit up there. This definitely needs filling in. Okay, so you can start to get a feeling of buildings. I think what I wanted to do is go back to that round brush so that we can come in with actual white over the top. So I'm going to dry that as well. So I'm going to come in with the white and just finish it off. Again, we're not putting much more detail in it than that, because there's no need. It's blurry, it's in the background, and that's how we want it. We don't want to be looking at perfection over there. We'll save that for the realist painters. This is for you, the beginner, just having fun, learning the basics. And you will get there if you keep going. It just really takes a long time and lots of mistakes and lots of learning, and you will get there though. Okay, I'm going to dry that. Because what I'm going to do now, I think, is come in just with the green there and just dot some in between so that we can see that the buildings are broken up a little bit in between. Just make sure it is nice and dark. There we go. So we can have a bush here, and then that could be a bush over here. We didn't just want that block of buildings. It wouldn't have looked right. Break them up a little bit and phase that green into it a little bit. Okay, that's all you need to do. And then we've got a tree here, say, because there will be gardens in amongst all this. It won't just be a massive block of buildings. So we're just going to push that green back in so that starts to look like actual buildings in the background. And that's fine. We're not going to do any more with that. Now it's time for some boats. So they're all kind of over here. And literally all I'm going to do is to mark in some boat-like shapes. Yeah, just like that. I kind of want them just like, they look like little shoals of fish at the moment, don't they? Okay. So we're just going to do that. Not much more with it. These are going to be our boats, and then we can come down and paint some masts in. Like that. Okay, again, we're not going to do much more. Get some of that darker colour, and then go back into our lovely blue. I reckon that's, yeah, we need to get some more out now. We need to make sure it's darker. Okay, and just create a little bit of shadow underneath, like that. We don't really want any more detail than that in our boats. We'll keep it simple. And we'll just pop a little bit of white highlight there. And what we need is also maybe the bottoms. We could use this dark colour here. That could just be like the bottoms of the boats, so they don't just look like blobs. Give them a bit of shadow like we have with the water. And it's actually, if we come down and kind of join them together like that a bit, it does look like they're all kind of together, doesn't it? Creating that nice shadow. Good. Oh, we don't want to ruin it at the last minute. Okay, so I think I'm happy with that. I think we'll just come in with some white and really kind of go in for some nice white highlights on those boats, especially with the upright. I can't think of the word at the minute. Right, we want to kind of get a nice line coming from them, just lightly. There we go. And now they look a bit more like boats, don't they? A bit more like real boats. So that's it. We're done. We've got our sky in. Oh, something you can do is, using that light blue colour that we had for the sky, is add some white into that. Now make sure there's not much of it on your brush. And if you wanted to create some clouds over there, then you can. All you need to do is just tickle your canvas with it. Make sure you've got some on there, but you want it relatively dry. And you don't want much on there. And we want to be tickling the surface. I think I went into the green there. Be careful not to do that. And you can create some lovely cloud shapes doing that. That's if you want to do it. You don't have to. If you like your sky as it is, then don't worry. Now I'm scumbling it in, which means pushing it in with my brush, with dry, almost dry brush onto a dry background, and that's absolutely fine. Scumbling is good for making clouds because we don't want lots of paint there. We just want to have a sense of fluffiness up there, don't we? So just scumble a little bit of paint in. It's a nice day, so we don't want to have too many clouds, but I do think it looks nice to have a few, especially some nice little ones, just kind of in amongst the lower end of the sky like that. Okay, now we are definitely done. So I hope you enjoyed that. Please subscribe to my channel, like, follow, comment, and of course you can get the kit. I will make sure it's linked below. Also, visit my website for all the other kits I've got that go with some of my other videos. At the time of doing this one, I think there's 5 or 6, but I'm going to be doing one every week. So please do keep looking. And of course, you may end up not needing the kits, which is fine. You'll have your own resources, but you can still click on all my new videos and follow along with your own resources. I'm also on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. Please follow me over there if you can, and any kind of super thanks or anything like that is really appreciated at the moment. Times are really tough, aren't they, for everyone, and this tends to be like a luxury thing that people stop buying. So yeah, that would be awesome. Thanks so much. Take care everyone, and I hope you have a really good day.